Newspaper Jamie Dornan reveals, I lost sleep for months before deciding to divorce Amelia Warner. A gloomy day in the West London suburbs. The clouds rolled silently past the living room window, casting a shadow over the Dornan family portrait. The house was still as quiet as ever, but without the warmth Jamie had come to love. He sat alone on the charcoal velvet sofa, his hands clasped together, his gaze fixed on the back garden, where only a few years ago, he, Amelia, and the children had laughed as they chased each other in the sun. "What happened to us?" Jamie whispered, his voice lost in space. The truth was, he had asked that question 1,000 times, every night, for months. Sleepless nights, tossing and turning, staring at the ceiling as if waiting for an answer from the universe, something that would explain how a seemingly unbreakable love could be broken so quietly. He remembered the first day they met, on an autumn night at a small music party. Amelia sat in a corner, the yellow light shining on her dark brown hair. There was something in her eyes that made Jamie unable to look away. Not loud, not boastful, but hidden deep in those eyes was a burning soul. They loved each other like two people running away from the world, finding refuge in each other. And then, time passed. Roles, trips, photo shoots, premiere nights. Jamie's life became busier and busier after the success of 50 Shades of Grey, while Amelia chose to stay home more, spending time on music and taking care of their 3 daughters. At first, they tried to fill the gap with messages, video calls across time zones. But gradually, fatigue began to creep into every word, every look. "Are you okay?" he asked one night of filming in Iceland. "Yeah. The kids are just asleep. What about you?" "I'm fine. Just a little cold." "You always choose cold places to film." She smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Jamie put down her teacup, her fingers trembling slightly. The life of a celebrity is sometimes a gilded cage. They are seen, praised, but very few people know what's inside. For him, the price of fame is missing out on small but important moments, a dinner, a goodnight hug, the sound of his daughter's laughter in the middle of the night. "It's like I'm living 2 lives," he once told his therapist after a panic attack. On one side is Jamie Dornan, the husband, the father. On the other side is Jamie Dornan, the public figure. And I'm stuck in the middle. Amelia never said much. She didn't blame, didn't complain. That was probably what hurt Jamie the most. Her silence was like an invisible wall, so thick that he could no longer touch her. He had expected her to rage, to cry, to break things, anything to show that she still cared. But Amelia remained silent. Jamie's bouts of insomnia came in waves, unannounced. First one night, then 2. Then they became routine. His body was exhausted, but his mind was racing. He lay there, next to his wife, but he felt farther away from her than ever. "We lived in the same house, but in parallel worlds," he wrote in his diary. "I didn't know who I was when I was with her. Not because I didn't love Amelia anymore, but because I didn't recognize myself anymore." Some nights, he would quietly go down to the living room, turn on the low light, and sit down to write. Some nights, he would just sit, listening to the clock tick. Some nights he went out, walking around the block, hoping that fatigue would induce sleep, but it was all in vain. The lack of sleep ate away at him like acid eats metal. On set, he began to forget his lines. In interviews, he got his character's name wrong. There was talk of mental health issues, but no one knew the truth. "I'm sinking, and no one can see," he told a close friend after a press conference. One winter morning, with snow covering the front steps, Jamie woke up after a nearly white night. He walked into the kitchen, where Amelia was pouring milk for their youngest daughter. She looked at him, her eyes blank. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded, then turned away. It was then that Jamie realized, what hurt him most was not the end of love, but the disappearance of connection. He was no longer the place she turned to for comfort. She was no longer his place to find peace. The decision to divorce did not come from a fight, or a major event. It came from sleepless nights, blank stares, and silences that stretched to the point of no return. Jamie never thought he would say it, but one night in early March, sitting across from Amelia in the living room, he sighed, and said, "Maybe we should call it quits."